Anything?
And we should be live finally.
It's got
It's only
countdown
half an hour
than you
late.
think.
I see a little live button.
Hopefully anybody who is still in the Q&A can actually hear us and see us tonight. We'll take it from there.
Yeah, mine doesn't say live, but I'm willing to believe that it's live just based on what you're saying. So
That's interesting.
Yeah, mobile isn't the best thing to do Hangouts on.
it's cool that you can, but the features are
Exactly.
limited.
Exactly.
The Hangout on Air is now live. I just got to pop up on my screen here. So
There you go.
Just a lag.
yeah.
Little lag. All right. So I'm going to clear some of the our viewers trying to be patient out of the Q&A here.
So now that it's 9:35, we'll say thank you for joining us for this episode of Caching in the Northwest.
That's right.
Just play the closing music and we're done.
Yeah. Woo! What an
Another
awesome
epic
episode. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, we had to wait for JD to get back, so.
Yeah.
JD, you're that important to this podcast.
That's right.
We waited for you.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It wouldn't run without you.
We had to wait for the most difficult one to get here.
Oh yeah.
I was already here.
Oh.
There you go.
All
So does
right.
it count if we make a D1 cache a D5 cache just because we don't know how to find it?
Yeah, well, in that case, I found lots of D5 caches.
Mhm.
All right, you guys. So, Wits End, you okay to do our opening?
Oh yeah, it's
And
show notes by iPad tonight. So
awesome.
I've got the exact same setup.
I should have done that.
Awesome. And I will do the audio recording then, I believe.
Yes, please.
I hope so because I sure can't.
Okay, then I will start the music in a moment, and we will just get this show on the road.
Deja vu.
Oh hey, welcome
Hey.
to Caching in the Northwest. Hello, finally. This is the only podcast dedicated to geocaching in the Great Pacific Northwest, and we'll talk about caches and caches unique to this little corner of the country tonight. Once we're finally on the air, it's a difficult 5 episode tonight, so grab your magnifying glass and look closely. It's time to go caching in the Northwest.
You know, we can't talk about difficult caches or difficult podcasts until we bring in our most difficult co-host. Some say he uses a vuvuzela to keep wild animals away, and others say that wild grouse will not flee from him. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Yes, he is called Land Monkey, and everything is true, including the fact that his studio looks like somebody took a vuvuzela to it. But hey, we're here, folks. Thank you for your patience and holding out for us. And even more importantly, we have our guests of honor here tonight. We've got JD and Lisa.
Hey there.
Awesome.
Happy to be here again.
Again.
We're glad you're here.
We know you meant that sincerely, but it just feels like sarcasm.
No, I didn't mean it that way at all. We're happy to be on the show another time. That you
Well,
asked us back.
no, we're glad you're here. We're glad the listeners are all here. We're glad everybody's here. We're glad we're finally here. All
good.
3 of us co-hosts are dealing with technical issues, traveling issues, or any of the above issues. So it's a unique episode tonight.
You know, we've never had an episode where none of us have the equipment that we're used to working with.
Yeah.
So it's created a unique challenge for us. So thank you, listeners, for being patient with us.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you very much.
So let's get into an episode now that we're finally on the air, shall we?
Okay.
Do that.
And You know, we're talking about our listeners out there, and we do appreciate our loyal listeners. And you know, listeners, we love hearing from you about your favorite caches and caching locations in the Northwest in your own voice each week on the podcast here. So you also know that when we bring on a guest, we ask them to share with us. So, Jade, Lisa, what is your favorite difficulty 5 cache in the Northwest?
I would think there's some goblin dust caches that are, I think, some of our favorite ones.
Mm-hmm.
The Doctor Who down in the Portland area, and there's a similar one in, it's part of the headquarters Geotour, and that one actually turned into quite the D5 for us. I think it took us a year to get to it.
Is that because you couldn't get away from your booth at the show?
Exactly.
That day, and then the next day, it was the only one that was on our must-do list. We're going to do that before we blow town.
Yeah.
So we head down there, and the little museum is roped off because there's a wedding reception going to be like later that afternoon.
Yeah. It wasn't even going to happen for another 4 or 5 hours, but it was closed.
Yeah.
We could see the cache, and we knew what to do. Yeah. So we had to come back the next year, and we went early, and we got it done. Yeah.
So, construction or wedding receptions do increase difficulty, don't they?
Yeah.
And those are the worst when you can see it there and you can't get to it.
Oh, yeah.
And then other than that, we what is the definition of a D5? What makes it a difficulty 5?
You know,
that's kind of
is
objective.
A great question. Yeah. Well, first of all, we should say that all caches and their rankings are determined by the cache owner, the person who places it. So, you know, what one person would call a difficulty 5, another person may not. Lisa, I know, for example, that for you, spotting a bolt, a fake bolt cache, is nothing. That's almost a difficulty 1. Where somebody who hasn't seen it before and doesn't produce them on a regular basis, that's going to be much more difficult to find. So, you know, that's always a tough one to say is, you know, what should be a difficulty 5 cache. Now, it could be that it's well camouflaged, like we said with the fake bolt, or that it's a very difficult cache to open. There's some sort of puzzle or trick or procedure to open the cache. That could also require a D5. Or we can go on to one more and say that you need special tools to open the cache.
Sure.
Yeah, so with that being the case, some of, and it might come down to terrain 5, but some of my favorite ones, I haven't found a ton of D5s. It was 11 on my stats when I checked, and but we needed a boat to get to them, and so a couple on local lake here and in the Spokane River we did.
Well, this is a great conversation, but I'm going to say that we're jumping ahead of ourselves in our show notes just a little bit.
I'm sorry.
So that's okay. That's okay. I'm going to rein it back in just for a few moments, so that we can get through all of our announcements and everything we have for the beginning of the show. But save those thoughts because it's great conversation.
So guess who's never going to be invited back again?
I'm guessing me.
You're going to invite me again.
All right. Well, guys, thanks a lot. That was some great input, and we always love hearing that stuff, and we're going to talk about it a lot more. And listeners, remember, sharing your favorite caches or caching locations in the Northwest has just gotten more rewarding. Record a message from the cache itself. Record it while counting pieces of chewed gum stuck to a wall. We don't mind where you record it. But we want to hear about those great caches you're out there finding. So email your audio to us at feedback@cachingnw.com or call us at 253-693-TFTC and leave your message there. Your message just needs to be about 15 seconds long. It's enough time to say your geocaching name, the GC code, the name of the cache, and why you liked it. And hey, if we play it on an episode, you will guaranteed win some cool swag. And this month, we will be randomly picking one of the entries from the month of June to win a prize from our friends at World Caching. They have donated a 15 years of geocaching product set that includes a lapel and hat pin, travel tag, sticker, patch, nano geocoin, micro geocoin, full-size geocoin. So, listeners, this is an amazing prize pack that World Caching has donated. So,
Yeah.
so get in there and bless you. All right. So, if you're interested, if you don't have a jet and you have a jet flying over your head,
Whoa. The dragon.
Incoming!
all right, Wits End, you okay? Did they straight?
I'm fine. I phoned the Air Force and asked them to turn off the airplanes for an hour, but apparently I didn't have any pull.
The nerd.
I
Well,
apologize for that.
they did turn them off for an hour. We're just late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice one. Nice one. All right. So, hey, listeners, if you're interested in getting your hands on your own set of that 15 years of geocaching, watch for these products to show up on the worldcaching.com website earlier next week. Now, Wits End,
Yes.
I've heard rumors that there is a big announcement tonight.
There is a big announcement, and I'm going to do it before another airplane flies overhead here. We here at Caching in Northwest have that special announcement, and we want you to share far and wide. We've had help with this with a friend of the show and geocaching blogger extraordinaire, Dave DeBearmaker. Together, we are all officially announcing the Geocache Road Trip Contest. So, Bad Cop, since you have no planes in your hotel room, what do our listeners need to do to win this contest?
I do have a very plain hotel room, but that's different. Now, this summer, from July 1st to July 31st, 2015, geocachers have the opportunity to win some cool prizes by submitting photos of themselves out geocaching and tagging them creatively with the hashtag #GeocacheRoadTrip. What do we mean by tagging them creatively? Well, we want you to incorporate the hashtag #GeocacheRoadTrip into your photo. Now, however you want to do that. Perhaps it's with a sign with a hashtag on it that you're holding up. Maybe you Photoshop it in afterwards. That could get really interesting. Be creative. Have fun.
That's right, folks. And we'll go through just a real high level of some of the rules of the contest. If you want to find out more, check our website, cachingnw.com, or our Facebook site. But we're going to let you submit up to 3 photos per geocaching username. Each one, of course, as we said, has to include the hashtag #GeocacheRoadTrip. Submit it by email to geocachingroadtripcontest@gmail.com and ask everyone you know to vote online by liking the photos as we post them up on the Caching NW Facebook page. Be sure to include your geocaching.com username, return email address, and any story you wish to share about the photo in the body of the email, and we will share that. The photo with the most votes by 9 p.m. Pacific Time, August 12th, 2015, will be awarded the prize of Best Overall #GeocacheRoadTrip photo winner, and they will have first choice of the prizes from our awesome, amazing prize sponsors.
And they are awesome and amazing, it's true. But, if you don't win that category, there are even more chances to win.
Really?
10 other
More?
finalists, yes. 10 more. 10 other finalists will be chosen by our panel of celebrity judges for selection of 3 more winners on August 15th, 2015. We're doing this at the geocaching.com lackeys live at the 2015 Geocaching Block Party, the last block party, I might add. So online voting starts July 1st, or whenever we get the first entry, and closes on August 12th. The top prizes: Best Overall #GeocacheRoadTrip photo, as Land Monkey mentioned. This will be the audience favorite and the one with the most Facebook votes, whatever really gets everyone's attention. Next prize is the most creative use of the hashtag. How did you incorporate that #GeocacheRoadTrip into your photo? Permanent mark in your forehead? Maybe a tattoo right across your lip. I don't know. Arranging your family into a pound sign. Next prize is for the most aesthetically pleasing. This is just the nicest, most appealing photo overall. Landscape, still life, chickens, Air Force jets, whatever turns your crank. And the last prize is for the wildest adventure. tonight we've had a pretty wild adventure just bringing this episode to you, but we want to hear about your wildest adventure. However you determine what makes a wild #geocache road trip, share it with us. Maybe you had toddlers loaded up in the station wagon, Terrain 5 geocache success, scuba gear power trail, just cache safely and cache often.
That's right, folks. And hey, all these details will be available on the Caching Northwest website, cachingnw.com. Go check it out. And I should also note, importantly, that Cache Advance is one of our generous prize sponsors for this contest. So JD and Lisa, thank you very much for your support of this contest.
You're welcome.
Oh, absolutely. Our pleasure.
Now, lady and gentlemen, how was your week? Did you get any geocaching adventures in?
Well,
Let's start with you.
Does launching this podcast tonight count?
That
It's
was
been an
pretty much
adventure.
quite an adventure, yes.
Yeah,
And there was
that-
geocaching involved.
that was pretty much it. That was about it. And I can't think of too many other geocaching-related things, but I can hear another jet on the way, so I'm going to mute and let you discuss.
Thanks, Witsend. Hey, it has been a crazy week for us land monkeys, but going back to before Monday when the week really went insane, Mrs. Land Monkey, myself, Catapult, Jeff, and Iron Maiden, we tackled the infamous Kelowna Challenge Bear and the Run Cacher Run GeoArt west of Kelowna, BC. We've worked for the past year or so to qualify for all 100 challenge caches. So, all in all, it was a long day out on the Forest Service roads, but we found just under 200 cache finds. Had a great time out there with our good friends Jeff and Iron Maiden. And we also do wish a speedy recovery to Iron Maiden's knees as she took a slip near the end of the day. But I believe everybody's feeling better.
Ouch, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, well, you got to cache safely when you cache often.
There you go.
Yeah. That sounds like quite the adventure to work on all of those challenges and then go out and find all 200 caches on a Forest Service road. That sounds like quite an endeavor.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, and the good news is we know we've got a year before anybody's going to put any more out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's true.
So you finally got those cleared out. And there's no new ones coming.
Good.
JD and Lisa, did you have a chance to get out and go caching this week?
Well, we did a little bit. One of our one in our group over here, they threw an event for their 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
And from there, the group launched on to go do a night cache up on one of
Antoine Peak.
one of our steeper hills around here.
Yeah.
And we didn't do the night cache. We went to the event, picked up a nearby cache, and that just wore us out for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
So,
And our dog. Yeah. That's all she can do these days, and we had her with us. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
actually, we're recovering recovering a bit from the trip back east to Geo Woodstock and Allegheny State Park. So we did a lot of caching then. So
Yeah, we did.
yeah.
And then the only other caching that I've been working on is curating for the Spokane Geo Tour, which will be launching the week before Block Party on August 8th here in Spokane. So I've been working on, we're going to be bringing in some existing caches and getting those up to snuff, and then looking at some new cache placements all around the history of the Spokane County. So I've been researching and looking for hiding caches, not actually finding them this week.
But
Very
all of them
cool.
are going to be a D5.
Yeah, well, feels like it at this point. Yeah.
Nice. Lisa, we want to have you back on in the future to talk about that new Geo Tour that you're helping to set up. I think that's great.
That'd be great.
And I hope to be able to get that done at the end of the summer. So
Yeah.
Sure. It'll be around for a while, you bet.
exactly.
Mhm.
Now this week, I myself have been traveling, and as a result, I found a couple of caches, and one incredibly well done where I go. I haven't done that many where I goes, And this one,
Mhm.
as far as I know, incorporated all the available options within a where I go. It uses items you have to pick up and then use later to solve tasks. It was very well done. It was along the river
Wow.
walk right here in San Antonio, Texas. So,
Oh.
it's one of those things, if you're in the area, you've got to do this. So the other one I did, and again, I'm going to call it another must-do cache if you're in San Antonio. I went to Barney's Toilet Seat Museum. I know what you may be thinking when I say those words together. Um,
It's not Biffy.
But if
Toilet
you're-
seat museum.
if you're in the area, it really is a must-do. I was here about 4 years ago for this very same conference, and after I left, I'd heard about the Toilet Seat Museum and thought, oh, I didn't make it. Well, didn't know if I would come back to San Antonio, and here I am. So we made sure that was on our list of things to do. Local cashier Antaeus was very generous. He came, picked us up at the hotel, drove us to the museum, and we got to meet 94-year-old Barney Smith, who is the curator and creator of all the art right there in the museum. So he
Wow.
loves geocachers, and if you come in, you can sign the log. It's a virtual cache with a log. I don't think I've ever seen one of those. And the log in this case is a toilet seat. So he's filled up
Nice.
9 of those, or 8 of those. Front and back. He's on the 9th one right now.
Wow.
Wow.
So there you go.
That's
So
incredible.
geocachers, yeah, if you want to write or call in and tell us about your geocaching adventures, tell us where you've been exploring, what you're doing. So call in to 253-693-TFTC or email us at feedback@cachingnw.com.
I think I've seen a television segment about Barney and his toilet seat museum. So I'm going to have to go down and check that out.
Yeah, he has a videotape of all his TV appearances.
Wow.
And he's had TV appearances, on a regular basis for the last 20 years. He's quite a well-known
I just had no idea there was a geocaching connection. So, but that's very cool.
That's the only thing that brought it to my attention.
Oh.
Geocaching takes you to some interesting places.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does. And
Hashtag geocaching road trip.
that's right.
Well played.
Nice.
Geocaching has also helped me meet some very interesting people, and the people that I'm talking about tonight are really the real reason people have tuned in today, whenever you're listening to this episode that we finally launched. We're talking, of course, about Lookout Lisa and Kid Vegas. Now, guys, one of the hashtag geocaching 15 road trip souvenirs will be finding a Terrain 5 or a Difficulty 5 cache. And last week, we talked about some of the things to know when going after a Terrain 5 cache, but tonight we wanted to discuss what cachers should know if they decide to tackle a Difficulty 5 instead. So, to start off with, what do you guys feel constitutes a D5 cache? We tapped into it a little earlier, but elaborate on what exactly is a D5 cache. What makes one up?
Well, just I guess how it camouflages into whatever environment it's around is one
Right.
aspect of the difficulty 5.
Mm-hmm.
That the first electrical plate cover type cache, that I'm unsure if that particular one was rated a D5 at the time, but like Chris said, when you're encountering it for the first time, it is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when you encounter an LPC for the first time, that is incredibly awesome.
Yeah.
Who would
mind-blowing.
think to hide one there, right?
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
And so you got that aspect going for it, because the more difficult ones that I have found, I've always liked it, and I don't know why, where the hint only makes sense after you find it.
Yeah.
And then when it all comes together, you're saying, now that's cool.
Yeah.
The other difficulty 5 that people encounter are like the on-site puzzle caches. We did a whole slug of that type over at Geo Woodstock, where it was a series of birdhouses, but each birdhouse you had to do something different to get like a combination to a lock that opened the bottom of the birdhouse to get to the logbook, something of that nature. And some of these you needed 3 hands. If you're by yourself, this was going to be very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So that also is a nature of a D5 in my humble opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree exactly. Either just amazing camouflage where, obviously muggles will walk right by it, but, cachers are going to have a really hard time finding it. I can think of one. I don't think it's a D5, but I would rate it as that I found many years ago in Port Townsend area. I was out there for the Port Townsend WSGA campout, and it was just a tiny little slip of paper, basically, between some wood planks. And, yeah, of course, folks were newer at caching then. This was a long time ago, and so we really had that mindset of a larger container that you're looking for, and to look for just a tiny little sliver of something slipped in. That makes it difficult. And then the other aspect definitely is a field puzzle. There's something that you have to do on site for the difficulty to be able to open up the container or get to the log somehow. Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Hey, and on that note, we've got a little bit of activity in the Q&A that I'll share.
Okay.
Which is great. So yeah, Lisa and JD, really, you encapsulated it really well. Thank you. That's great answers. Brian Lang from the Q&A shouts out, D5 equals extreme. A serious mental or physical challenge may require specialized knowledge or skills to find or open the geocache. I think that it's really what you guys have been saying. So that's great. Thank you, Brian Lang. Brian Lang also gives the link, which we'll include in the show notes later, for the geocaching rating and for difficulty and terrain. Again, awesome. Thank you, Brian. And just not directly related to what we're talking about here, but it looks like we've got a new viewer in the Q&A asking if you could join the live stream. And just if someone's new to following us here, to let you know, we're recording a podcast, so the only folks actually live on the stream are those invited or hosting the podcast. So you're welcome to ask questions in the Q&A and listen. And thank you for watching us.
A little bit of static in somebody's audio there. I don't know if it's LandMonkey or not, but just if you have a connection issue. It's a difficulty 5 episode, so no surprise there.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
well,
now
I think our guest
nobody
really
moves.
hit upon it when...
There. No static.
It's
Okay.
not a very interesting podcast if nobody moves.
Yeah.
I think our guest really hit upon it. A D5 cache, is one that's either difficult to find or difficult to open. Now, you mentioned birdhouses on the East Coast. You have to be talking about W.V. Timms, West Virginia Timms caches.
Yep.
And he's a legend in making gadget caches that are difficult to open. And it's, as Breitling said, it's extreme. Maybe it's extreme enough you need to develop that third arm to be able to open some of these. But there are also puzzle type caches that you can do, at your house or at your desk to solve them before you go out and find. Perhaps it's simply a lamppost hide. So sometimes the puzzle cache, just solving it can also be a D5, where the cache itself isn't that difficult to find once you have the correct coordinates.
Yeah, we have quite a few really active puzzle hiders here in the Spokane area. And, they'll keep you up nights and days and weeks trying to figure out the puzzles. And then it's easy fun once you have the coordinates. It's very static. That's not us.
Jay, I think that's you.
Unfortunately, I think it is our land monkey friend.
Are you still hearing the static?
No,
Not now.
it's gone now. No, it's back.
I think I've got a loose cable here, sorry.
Land monkey will continue the podcast using semaphore.
Or Morse code. Yeah.
Oh, I think we've discussed Morse code as a potential podcasting method in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, semaphore and Morse code could be a difficult type of puzzle cache to solve.
That's true.
How was
That's
that for a
true.
segue?
Good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
do any of you guys have any examples of what makes a sneaky D5 type cache container?
Yeah, I've got a couple actually. I was
Really?
Yeah, I know. I was looking back on my history of the difficulty 5 caches that I had found, and pulled a pocket query together so I could find them easily. And one of them, it's I'm gonna give it away. Well, I won't tell the name of it. I went out to a first to find. It had just published, and we knew it was a 5 difficulty. And this must have been about 4 or 5 years ago, I think. Couldn't find it. Looked and looked and looked. I was with Ma today, and we were hiking back out. It was about a mile hike into the location, and more people were coming out. And so we went back with them, and we thought, well, more eyes. Of course we'll find it. Oh, no, we didn't find it. So it was finally found, I think, 2 days later. And what it was one of these. Y'all can see that. A DNA tube. Yeah, with a little piece of bark put on it, and it was just tucked into the ground in a forested little knoll with trees, so you're not going to get very good accuracy either. So that was the really hard part, was trying to find that. So yeah, that was one of the ones.
Mm-hmm. I remember doing that one. Then it was later, we had a CETO event, and we're cleaning up, and that was about as far in as we got, was that cache. And I, unlike my compatriots, was actually picking up garbage and stuff along the way, so I was behind. One of the last people to get to the GZ there, and they had all found it by then, and so they were waiting for me, and they said, okay, kid, your turn. And they sat there and just laughed at me while I didn't find this thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, hon.
Yeah. So
Don't go caching with those people again.
I guess.
Yeah.
So I just grabbed my big old piece of carpet I found, and I left.
That was
I'm
really
going to take my
Yeah.
carpet and go home.
Yep.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So some other tough
I
ones, of course, are your nanos. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I talked over somebody.
I was going to say, I remember finding a DNA tube, except it was in a baseball, and it was just outside of a baseball field, and they had simply drilled a hole in the baseball, stuck the DNA tube in there, and left it. And you think, well, that's an old baseball, and you move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was the cache. So, very creative people in geocaching, and sneaky too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We've seen a lot of creative use of those DNA tubes. In fact, 3 Hams in a Row's local cacher posted on Facebook a find that Mrs. Landmonkey and I had found not too long ago in the not Bellingham, Blaine area, which was again a DNA tube with a rusty washer and screw head glued to the top of it and then stuck into a piece of wood. So your odds of finding that are pretty slim if you've never found anything like that before, or if you're just not thorough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's hard to be thorough. I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
And so generally in situations like that, when you're out with a group, or particularly when her and I are out and we're searching, it doesn't necessarily have to be a D5. It's happened on D1s as well. But I've scoured my vector and it is not here, and then so she circles around and does this in my vector. Oh, is this it?
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not it because I've cleared the vector, obviously. So we got to keep looking.
Right. We've done that to each other, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, a golf ball is another favorite one with the DNA tube as well. Yeah, that's another one that we manufacture. We make for geocaching.com too. Yeah, I've seen lots of different folks make them. They're difficult to do. I guess it depends on the type of golf ball when you're putting it all together. One of the first one that I found was before we were even making these as a company. It's right off of a golf course here in Spokane. Yeah.
Yeah, in that particular area that it's in is also a strong magnetic field, so the GPS just doesn't work.
That's true.
And that makes it even worse.
Yeah. Must be the rocks that are there or something. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, cords are always off.
Evil.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So, hey, guys, if I was a brand new cacher and I show up, and so let's say it's a D5, it's not a puzzle D5. So you've got the coordinates. You didn't have to do something ridiculous to get the coordinates. You've got the coordinates. But you show up. You're a new cacher. How would you even start the search? Like, are there things that you should be considering?
I think the first thing to consider really is read the cache page thoroughly. Look at the hint. If you're new and it's a D5, go ahead and read the hint. That's okay. Yeah. And then I would read previous logs as well. I know from experience that a lot of cachers will leave hints. And as you get to know some cachers, you can read more into what their hints might actually be saying. And it's subtle, but that might give you just the push that you need or an extra clue for finding the cache. And think outside of the box. Your difficulty 5s are generally not going to be in a box type container. They're going to be something flat or different shape than what you think.
So you mean literally think outside the box?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like to put a and this is I put a time limit on it. And my personal time limit is 20 minutes because then for me, okay, this is now not fun. So I will. It's like when you know we're all doing work on something for work and it's not coming together, so you take a break, come back, and that's how you do it.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. So I have a 20-minute time limit, but when I'm done, it'll be a day or so before I come back. Then I might, if there's an event, I'll find the people who found it. Engage in small talk, tell them they're looking really good tonight, and and by the way, where's this one at?
So you start with a compliment.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you look for a clue. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Very smooth, JD.
Knew I was doing something wrong there. Yeah, it does have to do some research. As you mentioned, difficulty 5 caches. They're just not going to be your standard Tupperware under a rock or anything. So do some research. As you mentioned, read the descriptions, read the logs, check for special attributes. That's always good too. And I really like that tip about setting a time limit. Mine's at about 4.5 seconds. If I just walk up and go, no, it's not there, and then I just call the bad cop and say, would you come find this? Because he always does.
Yeah, he's good.
Oh, not always. Not always. But,
I am so looking forward to the GeoCoin Challenge caching with you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. It's going to be fun. As we said, D5 caches come in so many different shapes and sizes, and perhaps it's just because you've never seen this type of cache before. I'm sure the first LPC was a D5 cache. When people realized, wait a minute, this thing lifts up? Cool! So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a head scratcher when I found my first one.
Exactly.
I was in the middle of a parking lot. How could there be a cache here? I don't get it. Finally, I did.
Lisa, didn't I see a picture with you on Facebook on a T5 LPC?
Oh, yeah. That's actually my profile picture right now.
Oh.
Yeah. For me, definitely, I'm 5. I was actually just measured. I was at the doctor's yesterday. I'm 5'2.25". I used to be 5'2.5". Darn aging. But yeah, that cache would have definitely been, had the cache been there where it was, it would have been a train 5, meaning a stool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a
photo
large cement pillar with
Mhm.
the lamppost on top of it, and that cement pillar was, well, it was taller than you.
Yeah, it was over 6 feet, I
So
think. Hmm.
it was over 6 feet. Okay.
Yeah, where the skirt
and
was.
then the
so I was
lamppost
lifting.
was on top of that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was amazing. So I look at that and go, oh, I would have put a cache there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Delaware? No. Somewhere between DC, no, Maryland and New Jersey, I think, at a rest stop.
Oh, on
Yeah.
the road trip you guys just did.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. It
Nice.
wasn't in the Northwest.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Somewhere between DC and D5.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, C is 100 in Roman numerals.
Yeah.
There you-
It is. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but it's only, what, 11 in hex or 12 in hex?
Mhm.
there you go.
So
That could create the
We have
hard
some
puzzle
more
cache.
feedback.
Mhm.
there you go. We've got some more feedback from the Q&A, and Dora Moore shares that most of the D5 caches she's found have been puzzles. We were talking about that earlier.
Mhm.
Her favorite is one that she had to work really hard at, though. It involved mapping and projection skills that she didn't have when she started it. So she was
Oh,
very proud of herself by the end of that series.
And that's-
Ava.
yeah.
Well, go ahead, Kid Biggest.
That's impressive. I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a few of those caches, and generally only with a group. They're not easy to do. So good job.
There you go.
Hmm.
We had also heard earlier today via Twitter from local geocacher Cuddlefish, and she said her experience on D5s is that it's often all in the interpretation. I think we talked about that earlier, that the difficulty rating is set by the cache owner, and as we were just talking about, it really depends how often you've found caches like that in order for you to really get a sense of that difficulty. In her experience, she says some people think puzzles with math are a difficulty 5, and she says, I'm like, yeah, whatever. She, by the way, is a math teacher, so.
Yeah.
That does make a difference. I know some math teachers. They're different.
Yes, they are. They know about tessellation. But that's not what we're talking about.
No.
Nicola,
So you had some really cool containers there that are all pre-built.
Mhm.
But do you have any examples of how people have used your D5 containers to make some really sneaky hides?
Yeah, there are a couple that I've actually found. It's always fun finding my own containers out in the wild. This is an example of one. We call it the evil cable cache, and it truly is evil. The cache is actually this tiny little part here that screws into the 2 cable ends. And there's one not too far. Is it a 2-part one, or is that just a single one?
I think it's just a single one.
A single
but,
one?
yeah.
Okay, I was thinking
But
of a
he has
different one.
he has a puzzle
Yeah,
that is pretty awesome too.
yeah,
Or,
in the
yeah,
same area.
mhm.
Yeah. So these just blend in really well if you just attach them to a pole of some sort. And yeah, they're incredibly difficult to find because these are actual components that are used that have just been repurposed to make the cache. So we do sell a lot of these.
And so what happens now when we encounter them
Mhm.
is, okay, are we finding a cache or are we disrupting somebody's prices right here when we uncode? So, and wasn't it in Houston? We were at that the walk on the river there, and we're finding a cache, and we sort of thought it was a cable cache because there's a long string of cable laying on the ground, and there's a junction, but our GeoSense says, well, let's just wait, but it would turn out to be the little piece of paper in the crack of a beam holding up a support.
Right next to it.
So yeah, good thing we didn't unplug that one.
Yeah. You always want to, of course, use caution when you're working around anything that could be electrical. Yeah. Be sure you know what you know before you go.
That's good advice. I think that a less dangerous but possibly more destructive mode is where we got into as geocachers with the sprinkler heads.
Yeah.
And far more dangerous is electrical stuff. So you really want to be certain that what you're about to mess with is not active electronics.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that. With the sprinkler heads, that's something that we had sold for years and years, and we actually included it within our Tricky Cache Pack, and we've discontinued carrying them. We just have a few in stock that, not really in stock, but we have a few that we need to get rid of, I guess, because they just encourage, I don't want to say bad behavior, but digging a hole, which you're not supposed to do. And, how many of us may have fiddled with a real sprinkler thinking that might have been a cache?
Well, only a little bit till that spring popped up.
And the water starts gushing. Yeah.
And we quit fiddling with it. So.
Yeah. So as a company, we've actually stopped selling them.
It's good to hear that you're being responsible, geocache suppliers. And the reality is we know there's still a lot of sprinkler head caches out there that have been placed over time. You got to be careful. Once you've seen one, you can kind of tell the difference for the most part. It doesn't have the white circle on it, usually is the way I tell. If it has the white circle on it, it's a real sprinkler head. Don't touch it. But you got to be careful with that stuff. And we've got a little more Q&A from Dora Moore. She says the hardest traditional she's found was a bison tube in a plastic topiary form hidden in a boxwood shrub. So I think she's intentionally being a little bit unclear on the language, but plastic topiary form to me sounds like the bison tube is somehow put in with fake shrubbery that looks a lot like the boxwood shrub, and as she says, it was almost impossible to see. I can imagine it would. You find it by just sticking your hands in there.
Yeah.
Right.
One of these things
that reminds me of that really tough one that we found.
Which one?
Big piece of grass.
Oh yeah. On this last trip.
Yeah, it was just a little tiny tuft of grass mixed in with any landscaping. And you pulled it up, and it was a DNA tube or something similar. Yeah, probably would be archived the way it was hidden today, but that was tough.
That was tough. Yep.
Yeah, we only got lucky because there were about 20 people standing around watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't have my glasses on, so the show notes, are we going to talk about, I don't know, the perils of hiding a D5? Especially in the day and age of people don't read the cache page.
And rip them apart.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Because we've, on our last trip to not this one, but to CoinFest, we needed Florida as a state. So we tucked into the furthest west little corner of Florida in the Panhandle.
On our way to Atlanta.
Yeah, on our way to Atlanta. We didn't make it even 2 miles into Florida.
No.
So the first cache is at Welcome to Florida sign. And it wasn't a D5. Probably could have been.
Could have been.
It definitely could have been. We read the cache page and the previous logs, and the previous logs were, didn't find it, and we spent a good 10 minutes. It wasn't anywhere. It's missing. It's gone. And I should know. I have 25 fines now. That type of thing.
Yeah. So people say, yeah.
And then you'd find a DNF log that they were honest about it, saying, it's here. I know you fooled me. I'll be back again, right? That type of thing. And we're about at the 20-minute limit.
Just about.
And when the old something is almost just like the other.
Yeah.
And we made the find, and then that's super gratifying.
Mm-hmm.
But the cache owner in the previous logs, he'd get 3 DNFs, he'd go out and check it. It's here, folks. It's difficult on purpose. And in one of his logs, he said, if you don't like to do difficult caches to find, please drive on by. So I imagine that's the peril, I call it, of hiding a D5 in this day and age when we don't. If you got to get it across in the name of the cache, good luck.
Yeah. How true that is. And JD, you bring up an excellent point. Nobody's forcing you to go find these caches.
Right.
If that's not a type of cache you enjoy, skip it. If it bothers you, put it on your ignore list. You'll never see it again.
Yep.
And move on, rather than doing damage or
frustration.
Or frustration. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, mental damage. Yeah.
Yeah, caching's supposed to be fun.
Exactly. Yeah, I've seen quite a few caches that are really quite clever, or gadget caches that get destroyed. People just get frustrated and try to force their way in, and that's definitely another peril. And that's really sad for the owner and frustrating, I know.
Good points.
Exactly.
Good points. So guys, do you think we've covered the topic well enough for tonight?
Well, I did have a question for everybody else out there. And is there a particular style of hide that, no matter what the rating is a D5 to you each and every time you attempt it? I have. You hang a bison in a tree, any bison in a tree.
Yeah.
I can't find it. Ever.
Yeah, especially the little round ones.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I was wondering if I'm the only one who experiences this type of phenomenon.
Oh no. I think we all forget to look up. We just, we're used to looking down on the ground because, well, obviously caches can't float in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had my buddies tell me, you're making it too difficult. What you got to do, if you know it's in the tree, is you need to stop and literally, look at this vector. Look at this vector. Look at this, and then when you can't see anymore, walk this way. Look here. That doesn't help.
Now, there are a series of caches around me that are based on phobias. Okay? So perhaps it's a cache in a small place. So if you have claustrophobia, to you that's a D5 cache.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There are other ones, fear of ants.
Spider caves.
Or spider. Yeah, exactly. And so for some people they walk up, that's no problem at all. Other people, if that's truly a phobia, that is a huge deterrent and a D5 cache. So
Interesting. Brylang in the Q&A brings up a point that I strongly agree with. He says, I hate caches hidden in a rock in a field of rocks.
Oh, yeah. That would be my
I would rather go look in blackberries for a bison tube than a rock in a field of rocks.
Yes.
The rock retaining wall is the same way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I drive up and see a huge rock retaining wall. I just drive on. I don't even look for it. It's just not fun to me.
Yeah.
I could probably find it, but it's just not fun.
Yeah. So. My drive off is the juniper bush.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if they're just really thick.
Yeah.
And you might have to be digging around. I'm a little bit allergic to them as well, so yeah, it's just not worth it.
Now, I have found some bison tubes in trees, but I have a cacher friend in California that has a lot of hides around his area, and he actually deviously one time took a small nano container and a magnet and put them on each side of a leaf of one of these trees. So
Oh.
that was even more devious to me than a bison tube
Yeah.
tree.
Mm-hmm. I found once a tongue depressor in the bark of a tree.
Ah.
Yeah, and that was the
Wow.
cache. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's
How'd you
gone
log it?
now. Well, you had to just sign the tongue depressor.
That's
Yeah.
depressing.
That's
It
depressing,
was.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and the coordinates were off, and yeah, it was. Yeah.
But yeah, there's nothing, nothing like finding that difficult cache, especially all on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't need no hints from nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good
Mhm.
feeling when you finally
It
get
is.
one. Mm-hmm.
And Dora Moore in the QA throws in her, I'd say favorite, but we know we're not talking about favorites, most hated, which is a bison tube in ivy. Yeah, ivy's
Yeah.
Oh.
as nasty as junipers. Junipers are the worst, I agree.
Uh-huh.
But ivy, oh my goodness. You talk about taking that vector approach. I don't think it matters with ivy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just thick. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the rock in
Burning
a
it
field of
down
rocks.
probably isn't.
Oh. I was going to say the rock in the field of rocks is bad. I found a one in a piece of beauty bark in a field of beauty bark.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cruel.
Another challenging one that just came to mind, y'all reminded me of this talking about trees, is parking garages.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
What level is it on?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
You may have the right coordinates, but you don't know what level it's on.
Yeah.
That can get a little frustrating
Mhm.
without a hint, but
Yes.
boy, do you feel good when you find it.
We've actually had a lamppost cache
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
We-
An
It was a-
LPC.
It was a WVTM, it was an LPC, and it had 200 favor points.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So how does an LPC get 200 favor points? Well, you're going to have to go do it to find out.
Yeah. It was amazing.
What a way to leave us hanging.
Yes.
Hey, and on that note, I also did get via Twitter from Joshua, the geocaching vlogger, threw in that he had a video. We'll put the link on our show notes as well, of a D5 cache in the water. It looks like kind of almost like a swampy kind of area where he went in one of his videos about a year ago. And he went, he got FTF on a D5.
Nice.
It was actually, I think it was a 5.5 if I recall the video correctly. So. So
Wow.
that was kind of cool, and thanks to him for throwing that into the show as well. We've also in the Q&A got a lot of agreement on cedars, which I think goes along the whole same line as junipers. Wet Coaster and Brylang both saying that they have allergies to the cedars, so those bison tubes in there are just not fun at all.
Yep. Cedar fever. Yeah, I used to get that when I lived in Texas. Yep.
I've never heard of it called that before.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get the rash up the arms?
No, it's just like hay fever in the Northwest, but it's a certain, I think it's fall or is it spring? I forget. Chris asked people down there in San Antonio where you are about cedar fever. Yeah.
It's actually the pollen reaction.
Yeah, it's more of a pollen. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Okay. There you go. Learn something new.
Mhm.
All right. Well, folks, I think we've had a late start, but we've had a nice long conversation. It's been great. JD and Lisa, thank you so much for joining
Thanks for having
tonight.
us.
Yeah, our pleasure.
We love having you guys. You're welcome anytime. So listeners, there you go. Check out Cache Advance's devious cache containers at cache-advance.com. And yeah, well, there you go. There's the kit right there. And let us know what you think. Sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying this is the D5 kit, difficulty 5.
Yeah.
5 very difficult cache hides. Yeah.
Awesome. So you can buy that as a kit off your site?
Yeah, absolutely. You can buy them all individually or as the kit at a better price. So, yeah, little product placement, sorry.
Oh, we don't mind. That's awesome. All right. So, yeah, folks, try it out. Let us know what you think. And we want to remind everybody to check in again next week, June 18th, for our Kicking Off the Road Trip episode.
Yeah.
And folks, you are not going to want to miss June 25. June 25th is our 100th episode of Fun and Silliness. It will be live content that we record from the 2015 Mount Vernon Parks GeoCoin Challenge. And
Yeah.
special guest, Dora Moore, is going to be on to talk about the Metrovan Geocaching Summertime Winter Games 2015. And we're going to leave you hanging because there is going to be more surprises, but our 100th episode is going to be something special, we promise.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Oh, here comes Hilo.
So, as we do when we close, where can we find you guys on the interwebs? Let's start with JD and Lisa.
Well, cash-advance.com.
Facebook /Cash Advance and @Cash Advance for Twitter, and Cash Advance on Google Plus as well.
Land Monkey, what about you?
So you can find us Land Monkeys at Land Monkey GC on Twitter. Facebook, we're Team Land Monkey, and on YouTube, if you search YouTube for Land Monkey, you will find much safe and often caching silliness.
Great.
Wits
And I'm
End,
just
what
Wits
about you?
End. Wits End. It's just about insert social media, your favorite social media / Wits End. And if it's not me, then, well, thump whoever has it and have them give it to me. No, be nice. But most of the major social medias on Wits End out there. So.
Very nice. For myself, it's Caching NW. That's at Caching NW at Twitter, Caching, Facebook.com/Caching NW, and Caching NW on Google Plus as well. Make sure to check out that Facebook page. We'll start posting pictures as soon as we get them.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as the contest starts. That would
right.
be July 1st, 2015.
So we can't submit till the 1st?
Well, you know what? We might let you.
All right.
JD, we will let you submit anytime you want as long as it's before the cutoff date.
There you go.
You just can't win anything because you're one of your photo.
But what we want to do is take the time. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Don't forget that you can be part of the show. You can call 253-693-TFTC and leave us a comment, log caches on our behalf, or give us a question any time of the day or night. Of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Also, your support helps keep quality shows coming. So if you like this show, and if you like it on time, please click the PayPal button on the Caching NW website. This show's created under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2015 by Chris Umfenauer. And my mouth is no longer working to form words properly.
Hey, but we got an episode out.
Woohoo!
Mission green.
Oh.
Yeah. Hey.
Good night, all.
All right, believe
You
it or
can't
not,
hear
we
what
got
I'm
one of the
saying because
can.
my audio is off.
Oh.
I was even
I'm
being
just-
nice and polite and Canadian.
I'm sure it's brilliant.
Nice and polite and Canadian. I thought all those were synonyms.
Well, that's why I kept saying and.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Oh dear. What a long night it's been.
Yeah.
Especially for Chris.
Speaking
Why is
of
that?
synonyms,
Hmm.
I learned tonight that the first Cinnabon was in Federal Way.
Oh, really?
Go figure.
Who knew?
There you go.
So
Oh,
something
yeah.
good can
Cinnamon
come out of
buns.
Federal Way, huh?
Wow. Yeah.
I can say that I used to live there.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
So when will you be at the Mount Vernon? The 20? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Saturday
The,
20th, yeah.
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 Second
just got-
annual GeoCoin Challenge.
Yeah, and then an art. There's
On the
an art.
21st,
art
the
tour.
next day,
Yeah.
Sunday. Yeah, that one looks really cool as well.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to that.
We just got their coins in today.
Ah,
So,
shipping them off.
doing a quality check, and they'll ship out tomorrow, I think.
nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
they look really nice. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, what we'll do here is we'll kill the live broadcast. So viewers who stayed up late and hung in there to
Thank
to
you.
watch the podcast, thank you so much. You know that level of quality is sub to our normal level of quality. So just a rough week, but we'll have the show back to its normal standards next week, we hope. So thanks for watching. We'll kill the broadcast here.